afternoon, folks. Now, discussion B, we're going to look at aging with the lens from past elders to see what has changed in aging care from when they were, from their decade. So please join me for today's discussion so we can take a look at how elderly see aging evolving and what has changed while their life has been on earth. So here we go. Here's a clear grounded explanation of the text based directly on the surrounding page content from your opened article. What the text is really about. The piece is a BuzzFeed style roundup built from a Reddit thread where older adults were asked what happened in aging much faster than you expected. The tone is candid, humorous, and a little raw. The article isn't offering expert advice, it's amplifying lived experience. The surrounding content shows that the goal is to surface the surprising, quiet, and often unspoken realities of aging that people don't anticipate until they're living them. The themes older adults highlight. The responses fall into a full clear categories. One, emotional and psychological shifts. Several people described a sudden, almost shocking change in what they care about. One person says they used to think they were becoming enlightened, but really they're just they they're just tired and lazy now. The This captures a broader truth. Aging often brings a recalibration of priorities, sometimes by choice, sometimes by fatigue, to physical changes that feel abrupt. Strength, flexibility, and energy dropping quickly after menopause, aches appearing overnight, vision deteriorating, skin becoming thin and fragile. These aren't framed as tragedies, just realities that live just realities that arrived sooner than expected. The shock of visible aging. People mention wrinkles, rice paper thin skin, and other outward signs that catch them off guard. The tone is the tone is matter of fact, not self-pitying. More like, wow, this happened fast. 4. Social markers of aging. One person jokes about getting senior discounts without asking. It's a reminder that society often sees you as old before you feel old. The deeper message, even though the article is light and conversational, the underlying message is clear. Aging is a privilege, but it also but is also but it but it but it's also unpredictable. Many changes, physical, emotional, social, arrive faster than people expect. Older adults often carry these realizations quietly until someone asks. There, there's humor, resignation, and wisdom in the reflections. It's a snapshot of the life of the lived texture. It's a snapshot of the lived texture of aging, a small everyday surprise that don't show everyday surprises that don't show up in medical pamphlets or policy reports. Okay, guys, here's the second half of B. Okay, this one is what the what's a truth what's what's a truth about aging that no one prepared you for. Okay, that's the second half of today's show. So here we go. Upworthy curates 17 of the most uh, shrinking, emotionally honest responses. The surrounding page content shows that the goal isn't to break, to be bleak. It's to name the real, often unspoken experiences of aging that people rarely articulate until they're living them. The tone is reflective, candid, and sometimes funny, sometimes gut punch real. Okay, the major themes emerging from the page: the sudden awareness of mortality. The first harsh truth is simply realizing there is an end and that it feels closer than expected. People described a shift. People describe a shift perspective. Life feels finite and unfinished dreams feel more urgent. Two, the sheer effort required to maintain life. The article highlights comments about how much energy it takes to keep everything going. Health, relationships, home routines. Aging isn't passive, it's work. 3. The the mind, body, spirit. One of the most repeated themes. Your mind stays young while your body ages. People still feel 25 inside, but their knees, eyes, back, and stamina disagree. This mismatch can be disorientating. Time distortion. The page explains why time feels faster with age, fewer novel experiences, more routine. A memory that feels recent turns out to be 10 or 20 years old. Feeling out of sync with the world. Several responses describe feeling like the world has moved on without them. Culturally, technologically, and socially. Not in bitter, not in bitter, not in a better way, but in a way that did everything, but in a way when did everything change? Way. 6. Shift in relationships. People talk about losing friends because of parenting, distance, time, or death. And the shock of watching your parents age faster than you expected. 7. Letting go of others. Letting go of others' opinions. A surprising upside. Many older adults say they finally stop caring about what others think. It's freeing. 8. The invisibility. 8. The invisibility effect. The article includes reflections on becoming invisible in a youth centric culture, especially in public spaces and workplaces. 9. Ageism. Several several comments describe doors closing pers- uh, professionally, especially in fields dominated by younger workers. 10. Consequences arriving all at once. Habits that felt harmless in your youth, poor diet, smoking, overspending, catch up suddenly and unmistakably. The deeper message the page conveys. Even though the headline says harsh truths, the surrounding content paints a more latent picture. Aging is emotionally complex, not just decline. People feel young internally, even as their bodies change. There's grief, but also clarity, humor, and unexpected freedom. Many readers feel seen by these shared experiences. The article ultimately normalizes the quiet, universal realities of growing older, things that aren't taught but lived. Okay, here, guys, here's the third part. What are the hardest truths about aging you've had to accept? The surrounding page content shows that the goal isn't to sensitize aging, it's to surface the honest, lived, sometimes painful truths. Sometimes humbling realities that people rarely articulate until they're deep into midlife or later. The tone is candid, vulnerable, and deeply human. A major the major themes emerging from the page. The shock the shock of visible aging. One of the first truths shared is how emotionally difficult it can be to watch your appearance change. People describe going from young and vibrant to visibly old, even though they still feel young inside. It's not vanity, it's identity. Feeling out of place by technology. Even when people who worked in IT describe moments of waiting to throw their hands up because everyday tech feels overly complicated. The surrounding content frames this as a loss of confidence, not intelligence. 3. Empty nesting and shifting family roles. Several responsibilities, several responses highlighted the ache of children growing up and leaving home. The article emphasizes the emotional whiplash of loving your kids' independence while grieving the daily closeness you once had. Chronic pain and physical decline, a major theme. Pain arrives and never fully leaves. People talk about new aches, reduced stamina, and the unsettling question, is this forever now? 5. Vision changes. Small print becomes a daily battle. It's a simple detail, but the page treats it as symbolic of a large loss of ease, feeling less needed. Older adults describe a hollow feeling after decades of being relied on by kids, workplaces, communities. The surrounding content frames this as a loss of purpose, not self pity, shrinking shrinking social circles. Friends drift due to distance, parenting, work, or simply life. The article notes how shocking it it is when the people who once shaped your world become occasional visitors, occasional visitors, menopause and rapid change. One commit one commenter describes aging 10 years in 6 months. The page highlights how little people are warned about the speed and intensity of these changes. 9. The shrinking horizon of time, a powerful theme, someday becomes a much smaller window. The article treats this as the article treats this not as fear mongering, but as a sober, clarifying realization. 10. Mobility loss. For some, retirement isn't just freedom, it's frustration if the body can't keep up. Cultural disorientation. Events that feel recent turn out to be decades old. Younger people don't recognize your references. The page frames this as a quiet form of generational loneliness. Mortality coming into view. One commenter says the end is no longer over the horizon, it's the horizon. The article treats this as one of the most honest, sobering truths shared. 13. Humility, even for the fit. A lifelong athlete admits aging checked my ego in a big way. The surrounding content uses this to show that no amount of discipline fully shields you from aging. The deeper message on the page conveys, even though the headline says hardest truths, the surrounding content paints a more deeper picture. Aging is humbling, unexpected, unpredictable, and deeply emotional. People feel young internally even as their bodies and roles shift. There is a grief, but also clarity and gratitude. These truths are rarely spoken out aloud, which is why they resonate so strongly. The article ultimately normalizes the quiet, universal realities of growing older, things people live through but don't always name. Okay, guys, I'll be back on with C in a bit. I'm going to go ahead and take a little break, and I'll be back on with C shortly. For now, Gator Wellness. Take care, folks.